Coming up right now on an extended edition of Primetime.
Who was revealed as the new investor in TNA Impact Wrestling?
What is the real reason that Daniel Bryan was not anywhere near the Royal Rumble matchup?
Why did CM Punk pack his bags and leave WWE on Monday night?
Find out how you can meet Shawn Michaels coming up in the next few weeks right here in Milwaukee.
Find out all this right here, right now on a special edition of Primetime.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius and Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time knockouts, hardcore Hall of Famer hero.
Yes.
Here on Saturday, February 1st, 2014, a huge, huge show.
Is it Groundhog Day?
As a matter of fact, is it?
February 1st, isn't that Groundhog Day?
Seen that movie, Bill Murray?
Yes. It's
sailing.
very repetitious.
It's good chicken.
Okay.
It's my favorite scene from that movie for some reason.
I'm
But
sure.
anyways, an extended edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime here tonight. We're going a full hour, David Hero, because there is so much to talk about. And let's start with this week's big story, which of course is the huge news coming out of WWE Monday as CM Punk, who is one of the company's top stars, abruptly walked out of WWE Monday in Pittsburgh.
Like a spoiled brat.
Cleveland. CM Punk reportedly had a meeting with Vince McMahon just before Raw was to go on the air on Monday and told the chairman that he was done and heading back to Chicago. Punk had segments planned on that night's Raw broadcast, and the show had to be modified as a result of his departure. Punk has also been replaced on the match listings for the upcoming WWE live events and also for his scheduled signing at the WrestleMania Access event. It appears that the catalyst for the decision that Punk made was the planned Batista versus Orton main event match at WrestleMania. While Punk has stated that he has no personal problem with Batista, he apparently does not agree with the fact that it will be another WrestleMania featuring a quote-unquote part-time star in the main event. All indications are that Punk was slated to be in a match with Triple H at WrestleMania, which would be a very high-profile matchup. This, however, would not be enough to keep him with the company. Punk, whose contract with WWE was set to expire in July, has also been nursing several nagging injuries, which likely also contributed to the decision. While this news may come as a surprise to some, it is not the first time we have seen a top star abruptly depart WWE. As a matter of fact, in 2002, Stone Cold Steve Austin did nearly the exact same thing. He was unhappy, unhealthy, and unmotivated. He left. He walked out when he was still the top star in the company. The company then responded with a public burial of Stone Cold by The Rock the following week on Raw. One might expect similar treatment towards Punk very, very soon on WWE programming. Now, PWR has actually independently confirmed CM Punk's departure from WWE, and this is not a quote-unquote work or wrestling angle. As a matter of fact, while we definitely won't name names, I don't think Punk is the only unhappy person well, as a matter of fact, we know CM Punk is not the only unhappy person, including some top stars in WWE right now. So, that's the story, David Hero. That's the big story. We have comments from Jim Ross and Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll get to those in a bit, but this big news breaking this past Monday night, CM Punk walks out of WWE. Your thoughts?
Why is it a big shock? I mean, CM Punk is a miserable person. He hasn't been happy with pretty much anything. And it's just like every other job. You know, no one's ever truly happy to come to work except you and I. This is like a big playground for us. But I mean,
for you.
Well, yeah, it is. But CM Punk takes his ball and goes home. He was gonna have a match with Triple H at WrestleMania against the Authority. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is a bigger match than Randy Orton and Batista for the World Championship. Because now you're going against the establishment. It's almost like Austin versus McMahon, but it's Punk versus Triple H. I think that match means more to the fans than it does Batista and Randy Orton. So I think Punk made a huge mistake and lost out on a big payday.
If the issue, or one of the primary issues, is the fact that Batista came back, won the Royal Rumble, and then is going to WrestleMania to take on whoever the WWE World Heavyweight Champion is, presumably Orton, if that is the issue, does that mean that CM Punk felt or feels he deserves the main event top billed spot at WrestleMania?
Of course. All those guys feel they deserve the top spot. They all feel they deserve the main event. But the fact of the matter is that they don't. Because if they were that good, if they were that over, if they were that big of a draw and sold that much more merchandise, they wouldn't bring back a Batista. They wouldn't bring back a Brock Lesnar. They wouldn't bring back a Rock. They wouldn't dust off The Undertaker for WrestleMania, the spectacle, the show of shows.
But as a star, as a talent, as a person who has aspirations, don't you need to believe that you should be in the main event at WrestleMania?
Oh, of course. Especially in the wrestling business. You have to believe you are the top dog, the main event, the showstopper, Mr. Monday Night, Mr. WrestleMania, whatever moniker you want to give yourself. But it's believability. CM Punk against Randy Orton to main event WrestleMania, not going to sell it.
Oh, Batista, I'm not sure if Batista will either. The fans in mainstream have turned against him.
Okay, here we go.
Picture it?
Picture it.
Sicily.
Exactly. There's a family of 4.5 sitting at home, going through the TV. Click, 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 click. Oh my God, look at that big jacked up guy. Tattoos all over his, he looks interesting. Right? I'm going to stay and watch. Now rewind it. Click, click, click. The heck? That guy's like 160 greasy. Click. It's
pads?
perception.
You say click or kick pads?
Whatever. Okay? The average person's going to stop and watch Batista in the ring. Larger than life character. Batista's not the best wrestler in the world. He's never claimed to be. But the guy's drawn money. He's headlined WrestleManias. He's wrestled Triple H. He's wrestled Undertaker. He's had all the big Shawn Michaels, the Ric Flairs, all of them. So has CM Punk. But let's not forget, Batista is also going to be starring in one of the biggest Marvel movies this year.
Oh, look at how that works.
Ding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is a name that we mention of people who have done this same thing. CM Punk has not been quiet about his frustrations in WWE, which he's had for some time, including last year when last 2 years rather, when The Rock was headlining WrestleMania with John Cena. If you are that worker bee, if you will, if you are that guy who's on the road for 300 days a year, however many days a year it is, and you are sacrificing your body week in and week out only to be left behind these people who have not done that all year, doesn't it naturally get you a little upset, get you a little hot about it? Do you not understand what his position might be?
But whose fault is it? Your job is to sell tickets. And let's face it, SmackDown attendance has been down. They're not selling out Raw every night. House show events are down. They're now in smaller buildings.
So when the business succeeds, it's on one man's shoulder.
Well, right.
The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan,
Those are the
Flair.
draws. Those are the special attractions.
When the business fails, it's not on one man's shoulder.
No, it's not. It's on the whole team. How many guys right now on the current roster do you think could main event the Attitude Era besides John Cena?
It's a very difficult question to answer
No,
because
it's not.
Is so far removed from the current status of the business.
See, can you imagine CM Punk in the same ring with The Rock?
Yes, because he's been in the same ring with The Rock.
But in the Attitude Era, rewind.
I think Punk would have been fantastic in the Attitude Era because he could have been
What
Punk.
is in that cup?
He could have
There's
been
no
Punk.
way. His attitude would not have lasted in that locker room.
His attitude would have been the same as just
The
about everybody else's.
APA would have taken care of him. Bob Holly. No.
Bob Holly, who was mentioned on SmackDown last night by JBL on commentary.
How about that? It's his birthday this week.
His birthday that coming to pass this week. All right, well, much more to talk about in this. We
We have a lot to talk about, CM Punk stuff to talk about.
Mentioned we're going extra later on in the broadcast, so we will get to those comments from Jim Ross and from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Comments Steve Austin made Thursday night on the Arsenio Hall show.
Which you saw.
Yes.
I know we got to go to break. We'll come back, and then I'll give my 2
Talk about
cents.
those comments later. That is this week's big story, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, the insurance company may try to stop you from getting what's fair.
After my car wreck, the insurance company tried to stop me from getting what was fair. I called Gruber Law Offices.
Be careful. Call us right away.
They better be careful. Now I've got Gruber Law Offices.
Call us. Let us get started on your case right now.
They green-lighted my case and got me $100,000.
Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. Call 276-6666.
I went on down to the Audubon Zoo and they all asked for you. They all asked for you. Well, they even inquired about you.
Share your comments on tonight's stories by following along on Twitter and using the hashtag PWRTV, and Damien and Dave will interact with you during the broadcast. And don't forget, we'll announce this week's winners of 2 tickets to WWE Milwaukee later in the show. There's still time to enter now at PWRshow.com.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero here on My 24 Milwaukee with a special expanded edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, which at the end of our broadcast here on My 24 Milwaukee will continue online at PWRshow.com and at YouTube.com/MaxSports. So 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 1 hour.
We're the 60-minute men, aren't we?
Absolutely. But before that, it is time for this week's hot news. It's all the headlines that you need, that you really, really need, in around 2 minutes or less for those of you who are continuing to keep score at home. TMZ.com is reporting that Matt Hardy was arrested at a Virginia motel back on January 1st.
Wasn't a Holiday Inn?
After an alleged physical altercation with his wife. When police arrived at the hotel after a 911 call from the hotel staff, both Hardy and his wife, Rebby Sky, were arrested for assault and battery. Now, we had the chance to talk to Matt Hardy last weekend in Pittsburgh, and both he and Rebby, who was also there, appeared to be perfectly fine. However, we do wish them the best going forward as they deal with whatever it is they may be dealing with. Jake the Snake Roberts has been announced as the second inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2014, joining the Ultimate Warrior. This was announced this past Monday on WWE Raw. Now, just last week, we told you about some comments that Robert made that about the Warrior that would have seemingly kept him out of the Hall of Fame for this year. Well, clearly, that was not to be the case, as those two men will be in the green room backstage.
I hope that green room is on pay-per-view. Oh, it'll be on the network, won't it?
Congratulations to Jake Roberts on his very well-deserved Hall of Fame induction, and what a loaded class already. Do they even need any more inductees?
Well, they need, I think, at least 3 more.
Will there be another huge name, do you think, going into the Hall of Fame this year? Because these are 2 huge ones already.
I think so. I really do. I think there's going to be one that's going to be...
Don't do it.
I won't do it.
Ring of Honor has announced that AJ Styles will be wrestling for the company again in Philadelphia in late February. On February 21st, at the promotion's 15th anniversary event, AJ Styles will face Jay Lethal. And then on the following night at the TV tapings, AJ Styles will face Michael Elgin for the very first time. WWE has announced that they have surpassed 10 million downloads of the WWE app. In a press release sent out on Thursday, WWE said, and I quote, "The WWE app will be a key component in the delivery of WWE Network." That launches on February 24th. Fans will be able to sign up for the network directly through the app. PWR will keep you up to date with developments on these stories as they become available at PWRshow.com. This past Sunday, David Hero, it was the Royal Rumble. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the 30-man over-the-top rope battle royal in the matchup. But there were several other matches on the card. Firstly, though, let's get to that Royal Rumble match where the final 4 were CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Batista, and Sheamus.
That was pretty close.
I said Alberto Del Rio,
I said Del
right?
Rio.
Those were the final 4. The final 2 would be Batista and Roman Reigns. The 2 men who I said here last week were the only, well, 2 of the 3, Punk being the other, that were possible winners of the actual Rumble matchup. It would be Batista who would walk away with the shot at WrestleMania after winning the Royal Rumble, eliminating Roman Reigns.
How about
and
that?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania
It's the Steel City.
Was
what a view.
Steel-hearted in regards to this particular win. They did not like this one
No, because
bit.
listen, the two flavors, well, I don't want to say flavors of the week, but Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are the darlings of the fan base.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the CM Punk was irrelevant in this case. They wanted one person.
Oh,
one
yeah,
darling.
they wanted Daniel Bryan, but he wasn't in the match.
Never announced to be in the match, never indicated to be in the matchup. However, Daniel Bryan lost to Bray Wyatt in the opening contest. Some 23 minutes of wrestling action, which were fantastic, by the way.
Those two guys can go.
And at that point, you thought, or at least I thought, that with that loss, Daniel Bryan had won the Royal Rumble. Clearly, it would not be the case.
No. I mean, like I said, you can't put Daniel Bryan in the Rumble because as soon as he's eliminated, nothing else matters. And it didn't really matter that much anyhow because, you know what, let's face it, no matter who was going to win the Rumble, if the name isn't Daniel Bryan, the fans were going to not be pleased.
It mattered for Rey Mysterio, who was number 30 in the Rumble, who probably got the loudest boo of the night. Poor Rey.
It's not his fault.
It's not his fault at all.
Yeah, it's not even Snitsky's fault.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Disappointed. Now, you look at a John Cena, who's a very dynamic character. Polarizing is the word they use. He gets boos, he gets cheers, but he incites an emotion that you either want to go hate him or you want to go love him. I didn't pick up that same vibe for Batista, David Hero. I picked up a go away heat vibe for Batista from Pittsburgh on Sunday, and I'm not sure if it was only because of Daniel Bryan, but it was clearly there.
The fans don't want to be Batista.
They don't want to be
There's
Batista.
no connection with him. When you see Batista, you don't picture yourself wearing those skinny jeans and that shirt, right? Mm-hmm. Not that you see yourself wearing, a John Cena Rainbow Bright shirt, or even having the Daniel Bryan beard. But there's just no real connection with Batista. Everybody was happy when they said he was coming back, but then when they realized the spot he was going to be in, and he's taking the spot of Daniel Bryan.
Be careful what you ask for because you just might get it.
And they got it. I have no problem with Batista and Randy Orton. It doesn't bother me at all.
Really?
It's one small part of WrestleMania. And let's face it, the main match at WrestleMania is against The Undertaker. That means more than anything on that show.
Well, at this point, there's not a match with The Undertaker.
Well, there will be. It's in Louisiana. Of course they'll be there.
Daniel Bryan, as you said, and I think you put it very well in your DWHS last week, Daniel Bryan should not have been in that matchup. He was not in that matchup. However, it did taint the matchup. And later on, we're going to talk about the journey of Daniel Bryan and the Daniel Bryan story, if you will. Because this could have been all part of an elaborate plan.
Daniel Bryan was really going to win a battle royal with 30 other guys.
Rey Mysterio's done it. Vince McMahon's done it.
Vince was 270 and jacked. And he's the owner of the company. Rey Mysterio won because of Eddie Guerrero.
The other name, in addition to Batista and Daniel Bryan, that made news on Sunday at the Royal Rumble was Roman Reigns, who set a new record for eliminations, defeating Kane's record from 2001 with 12 eliminations.
13.
Roman Reigns
Wasn't it 13?
eliminated just about half the participants in the Royal Rumble matchup.
Including big, sexy Kevin Nash. Did Nash tell you he was going to be in the Rumble? We were with him on Saturday night. I never got that memo.
Did you listen to the Double D podcast this past Monday? As we talked about that extensively.
I remember that show.
Kevin Nash, JBL, and El Torito, all surprise entrants into the Royal Rumble. And what a great event, by the way, Pittsburgh. Thank you on Saturday at Latitude 40, an hour of Q&A with Kevin Nash and the stars of Ring of Honor coming out as well. Truth Martini, Jay Lethal, Roderick Strong,
Jeff Jones,
Kevin Steen,
Scarlett Boudreaux.
Absolutely, a great night at Latitude 40. And hell, there are some names we can't mention. Well, we'll say Mark Madden was there as well.
Yes.
Obviously, you all know Mark Madden.
Oh, we can say he was there.
Can we?
Of course. Ricardo Rodriguez. He was there.
Having a blast. And our next event, of course, is the Elimination Chamber Sweet and Sexy. Several other matches to talk about in the Royal Rumble. We'll do that in the second half of this extended edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, including brand new tag team champions crowned at the Royal Rumble. But before that, let's take it now to Linda Kay with this week's Event Center.
Welcome to the PWR Event Center, brought to you by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. HBK is coming to Milwaukee. See the WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels at the World of Wheels in Milwaukee at State Fair Park on Saturday, February 22nd from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Get details and more information now at Autorama.com. Robert Hack Diamonds is pleased to present a free meet and greet with Al Snow at the My 24 Family Fest next Saturday and Sunday at Southridge Village Mall. Get all details now at pwrshow.com. PWR is pleased to partner with WrestleCon to kick off WrestleMania weekend. PWR will be hosting a special Mania dinner party with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Al Snow, Ken Anderson, Shane Helms, and Demolition on Friday, April 4th in New Orleans. You can dine with the stars. Limited tickets are available now for the special event at pwrshow.com. And that's it for this week's Event Center presented by Gruber Law Offices. And now let's find out who David Hero has chosen for this week's Diamond of the Ring.
This week's Robert Hack Diamond of the Ring is the winner of the 2014 Royal Rumble, Dave Batista. Not only did he defeat 29 other men, but he ran CM Punk out of the company. This week's Robert Hack Diamond of the Ring, the place where they pay cash for gold, is this year's Rumble winner, Batista.
Who do you trust when buying your jewelry? Brad Yulberg here, and I can tell you at Robert Hack Diamonds, we will treat you fair and like family. We have thousands of diamonds in stock, thousands of pieces of jewelry, and prices from under $50 to over $50,000. Come to Robert Hack Diamonds for a relaxed and enjoyable jewelry buying experience. Shop around before you buy. Robert Hack Diamonds is located at 76th and Layton and Greenfield, and our new location on the corner of Green Tree and Port Washington Road in Glendale.
Come to Robert Hack Diamonds.
Milwaukee. On Tuesday, February 25th, WWE returns for the first time in 2014 with a huge WWE SmackDown. See all your favorite superstars live, including John Cena, Daniel Bryan, Alberto Del Rio, the Deranged Wyatt family, the Hounds of Justice, The Shield, and many more. WWE SmackDown live in Milwaukee, Tuesday, February 25th. Tickets are available. WWE, the best value in entertainment.
WWE SmackDown is coming back to Milwaukee for a huge SmackDown TV taping on February 25th, and it is now time to announce this week's winner. Congratulations to Joe Andre. You just scored 2 tickets to WWE SmackDown. Entries will be reset tomorrow morning at pwrshow.com, so be sure to head on over and enter to win from PWR and My 24 Milwaukee.
Welcome back, fans, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime here on My 24 Milwaukee, an extended edition that continues online after we go off the air in a few minutes here on My 24 Milwaukee at pwrshow.com and at youtube.com/MaxSports. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. And David, let's talk about Monday Night Raw from this past Monday from Cleveland, Ohio. And what a show it was. Well, you know what? It wasn't really spectacular, but they did tie up some loose ends, if you will, including starting to name some of the people who would be in the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view matchup coming up on February 23rd. And we do know that Randy Orton will be defending his WWE World Heavyweight Championship in that matchup, and we do know all of the participants now after last night's SmackDown airing. But going back to Raw this past Monday night, a matchup that featured, well, let's go over the matches. Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara teamed up to take on Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro. The winners, Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro in that matchup. And how about the slap from Zeb Coulter to Jack Swagger to give them a little bit of motivation in that matchup, actually allowing them to get the win. But some saying maybe there's some dissension between the two. I didn't pick up on that at all.
Well, I don't understand why they did it, unless they're going to eventually split them up. I think
we saw it on SmackDown.
I think the Real Americans, though, might be the best tag team in the company right now.
What? Shut your mouth.
Absolutely.
Cody Rhodes and Goldust are the best tag team in the company.
I mean, as good as they are, Real Americans, I think, are just a little bit better.
R-Truth defeated Fandango. Dolph Ziggler defeated The Miz. And Ryback teamed up with Curtis Axel to take on the Usos. The Usos getting a win in that matchup. And Kofi Kingston versus Alberto Del Rio. The winner of that match, Alberto Del Rio. But during that matchup, the fans in Cleveland, they weren't very interested in the match because they started chanting JBL, JBL, JBL.
And how does JBL stand up and acknowledge the chant?
That was a problem. And I do believe Alberto Del Rio got genuinely hot about it.
Oh, he was shoot hot about it.
Because that's marking the match, if you will. That's you don't do that. Now, not
Lawler
as bad,
did the
maybe.
same thing.
It's, Jerry Lawler doing the same thing. But what does it say about this matchup? Does it say the fans were disinterested in it? Because last time we saw that, it was, I believe, Big Show versus Randy Orton on the night after WrestleMania when the fans just completely crapped on the matchup. This time, I don't know the last time we've seen Alberto Del Rio versus Kofi Kingston.
But let's face it, nothing on Raw was entertaining.
So it's okay then for the fans to
not at all.
hijack the show?
Yes, it is. Because if you're not entertained, you have to entertain yourself. How many times have I done that around here? You know what I mean? It's just, Give the fans something to boo and cheer. If you don't,
if they're not paying attention to the matchup, then how are they going to know what to boo and cheer?
Kofi Kingston and Del Rio is like taking NyQuil.
Is it not disrespectful?
Is that a match you would pay to see?
Is it not disrespectful?
Is it a match you'd pay to see?
Nobody goes to Raw to pay to see and pays to see one match.
Okay, what match would you have paid to see on Raw Monday night?
Well, obviously, it would have been Cody Rhodes and Goldust versus the New Age Outlaws. No one buys a ticket that goes, I really want to see.
No, you buy a ticket.
The match, I don't know what's going to happen
you buy
at
a
Raw.
ticket to be entertained.
You do.
And they weren't entertained.
But is it okay? Okay, do you not agree that it's disrespectful to the talents risking their lives in the ring for fans to do something like that?
It's a different. Yes and no. It is disrespectful, but at the same time, they're bored. They're restless. They're kids. Mental midgets, some of them. Okay? So they have no choice but to do something to keep them entertained. And all it takes is one voice in the darkness. And the whole thing goes to heck.
The aforementioned matchup for the Tag Team Championships, the rematch, if you will, was thrown out as Brock Lesnar interrupted and destroyed both the Rhodeses with a steel chair in that matchup.
Brutal.
More about Raw as we go overtime, as we'll get to the tremendous and the brutal moments of the night from Raw. But let's talk about Impact, David Hero.
Yeah.
Live this past Thursday night, a big reveal to end the show.
From Scotland.
The investor that we've heard about for the last few weeks, the man who brought in Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, was revealed. And it was revealed at the end of the broadcast, as I said, and revealed to be MVP Montel Vontavious Porter, formerly the highest paid star in SmackDown history. Now he is an investor.
That's how he could afford to get into TNA.
He is an investor in TNA Impact Wrestling. David, I really thought that this ended well. The MVP wristband or whatever hanging off him.
Oh, the gold
chains. And then the tag team, the Wolves standing on either side of him in their black suits. It fit, it felt good, it felt right, it made some sense.
Thank God they got the Wolves out of the polos and the khakis and made them look like legitimate stars.
Made them look like something.
Right?
Yes.
Wow, what a difference 2 weeks can make. You know, for as much as you bash TNA, they actually have a couple good things going right now. They really do.
When's the last time I bashed TNA?
Every other
Please
week.
cite it specifically.
I'm not a details guy, but I mean they got Team Dixie, which I think is a very entertaining faction of heels.
One of the most tremendous pieces of Impact this past Thursday night was the interaction between Rockstar Spud, who is a star, by the way, and the Wolves.
Yes.
When he took that flashlight out, I watched Magnum, was it Magnum TA?
Magnum TA.
Yeah. Which was perfect in and of itself. Mm-hmm. It is so rare, and I know we've been talking about this for weeks, but it's so rare you find a star who is so natural in the wrestling environment, and Rockstar Spud, Ethan Carter, the bromans are natural in that environment. These are people who are better than you know they are, and that you have had the chance to know they are, and we will be talking about them in great detail for weeks to come. As a matter of fact, as this show continues, ladies and gentlemen, we do need to say goodbye to all of you here on My 24 Milwaukee, and this conversation continues right now at pwrshow.com and at youtube.com/maxsports. So for all of you watching in Milwaukee for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying see you next week. And the show rolls on talking about Impact, David Hero, Rockstar Spud, Team Dixie. Dixie Carter was even tolerable this past Thursday night on Impact.
Barely. She still takes up too much TV time. But Team Dixie's solid. It's a good group of heels. They're good-looking guys. They cheat. That's what heels are supposed to do, is they cheat. And you can tell there's a little bit of dissension between EC3 and Magnus.
Well, let's talk about the matches, because that cheating of the last couple of weeks involving Magnus came to fruition this past Thursday night as it became a problem, not a solution. Opening the show was Velvet Sky and Madison Rayne defeating Gail Kim and Lady Tapa. James Storm would then team up with Gunner. They seem to have reconciled and defeated Christopher Daniels and Kazarian in a tag team matchup. The Bromans got a win and retained their tag team championships over Abyss and Eric Young. Eric Young would then challenge Abyss to a Monsters Ball match for next week on Impact. And then Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, with their contracts on the line.
Lots of tag teams on Impact this week.
I think every match was a tag team match. Defeated Magnus and Ethan Carter III, and they did so without any outside interference because it was banned in the matchup by the investor and the Wolves earlier on with Rockstar Spud. I think, what is it, 4 or 5 matches on the entire broadcast? They didn't need any more.
I think it was enough, and it established that Magnus needs to cheat to win. That's the heat. There you go.
Kurt Angle says he's ready to accept his induction into the TNA Hall of Fame.
In London. Isn't like America anymore? I thought he was an Olympic gold medalist for this country. Here's
what TNA deserves right now. Praise. Ratings are up. Stars are interesting.
Well, let's face it. Kurt Angle wants to be inducted in front of a big group of people.
There you go. I'm giving them props.
That house was fantastic Thursday night.
They shot it a little weirdly, though, but yes, it was.
It was at least 10,000 people there.
No, exactly. You're right. You're right. I don't know if we at home got the full scope of it.
They don't get that in 10 shows sometimes. Paid.
The stars. The people who I think are making TNA interesting right now. We mentioned some of the names earlier. Magnus as champion, I think, is one of those things. Rockstar Spud, the chief of staff, is one of those things. The Bromans, the tag team champions.
Who would have thought Zema Ion?
Zema Ion, exactly.
He's a good hype guy.
Ethan Carter III, one of those things. Samoa Joe, back as a monster, one of those things.
And they did a great job of reintroducing the legacy of Samoa Joe.
Abyss, one of those great things. Eric Young, one of those great things. The roster in TNA, while it may be smaller than it has been in recent history, is probably the best it's been in history.
And they're without Sting, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles.
Don't need them.
They don't.
Think back to this past Thursday's Impact. What would Jeff Hardy have added to the show? And this is no knock on Jeff Hardy, who's a tremendous talent, but he may not necessarily fit into the current
He might not have,
Impact.
no.
But what would he have added, if anything?
They're keeping him away from Magnus for right now, which is a good idea.
Because then he can come back and be a viable challenger for Magnus.
Absolutely.
That's looking down the road, not just kicking the can down the road.
Well, you got to figure that TNA Impact Wrestling already have planned out the next 6 to 7 months what they want to do.
They proved that to us last year, going into Bound for Glory with the Aces and Eights storyline and the reveal, and that was good. But I think it's very, very important to note that without those names you just mentioned, they are doing better business than they were before. Now, comparatively speaking, ratings don't matter for 1 week at a time. They matter over the course of a period of weeks. But an uptrend over the last couple of weeks for TNA Impact Wrestling. And coming off that pretty brutal Genesis the other week, Genesis Part 1, this was a whole different ball game this past Thursday night.
And I believe the crowd made the difference. It was a hot crowd.
Where do you go next with MVP?
Eventually, he has to have a sit-down with Dixie.
They have they tape next week's show already, and this is not a spoiler, but they will have face-to-face time next Thursday on Impact. Will Dixie Carter and MVP?
Be very interesting. I didn't know that TNA was publicly traded.
Is MVP that guy? Is he a good choice for this role?
You know what?
Without knowing where it's going.
I don't know. I like the possibility of MVP being a solid player with the Wolves. Because I think separately, MVP and the Wolves don't mean that much. I think the three of them together has a lot of potential.
That's Impact from this past week. Let's talk about WWE SmackDown from last night. Let's first go over the matches on that show, which gave us the final qualifier for the Elimination Chamber matchup. Dolph Ziggler took on Antonio Cesaro. Cesaro gets a win over Ziggler in a great matchup and qualifies for the Elimination Chamber. Antonio Cesaro's in the chamber match. We talked about where it was going on Monday with the possible dissension and why Cesaro got the rub, I guess, in that matchup. Well, we'd see it come to fruition on Friday.
And maybe this was the make good for Punk leaving by putting another internet darling, Cesaro, to just try to, keep the peace.
Cesaro on Monday night, to me, became a beast.
Oh, he has been for a while.
He has been for a while, but, sometimes it sinks in for different fans at different times, and for me, that happened on Monday. Because
Well, you've always been a little slow. I'm glad you finally got caught up.
Fandango defeats Xavier Woods. And I actually enjoyed R-Truth and...
Xavier Woods, give the guy a push or not? What are you going to do with him? And how does he lose to Fandango?
Somebody call his mama. Must have been the mustache being gone.
I guess. It's something.
Well, Summer Rae and Emma got involved. There was a distraction.
Emma?
Yes.
Summer Rae is going to be in the new Diva show.
She has replaced JoJo.
Well, JoJo wasn't old enough to be drinking.
Christian returns on SmackDown on Friday, just last night, and gets a win over Jack Swagger. Again, another great matchup. Both members of the Real Americans. The Real Americans in solid matchups on SmackDown. Well, Christian beats him, qualifies for the Elimination Chamber. And here's who we know are in that matchup now.
Wait. Nobody complains about Christian coming back and being put in.
I've heard this before.
Really?
Yeah, you've said this before, but I want to hear you say it again.
Christian comes back, been off TV for forever. Doesn't matter. He's been gone. He comes back, boom, let's put him in the main event right away. Nobody complains about Christian.
Participants in the Elimination Chamber matchup trying to take Randy Orton's WWE World Heavyweight Championship from him are Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Sheamus, Antonio Cesaro, Christian being the final entrant in that matchup.
I have to sit through 18,000 people chanting yes in Minneapolis.
Well, let's go back to the Royal Rumble as we are now in overtime here, and let's go back to what we experienced live at the Royal Rumble. Let me tell you this, folks. I have never, in the 20-plus years I have been watching this great sport, seen so many fans, heard so many fans, let me finish.
20-plus? Let's say 30-plus.
Heard so many fans in unison at one time chanting and acting out the same move. I've never, ever experienced that.
What?
In the days of Stone Cold Steve Austin, never experienced it.
Not even the what?
In the days of Hulk Hogan, never experienced it.
Hogan never had a chant.
He never had a chant, but he had okay, you're right. Fine, not a good comparison. Days of The Rock, never experienced it.
Well, wait a minute. You had 20,000 people doing the New Age Outlaws. You've had the Rudy Poos and the Fineleys and the What's. It's just you don't remember. It's been so long.
I do remember. Not as impactful. None of that was impactful as the yes, the arms up, the fingers up, the sustained duration of the yes chant. This past Sunday at the Royal Rumble.
Was it obnoxious?
Daniel Bryan. No, it wasn't obnoxious.
It didn't bother you at all?
Did not bother me one bit. Did not bother me one bit.
Okay.
You again have difficulty admitting that Daniel Bryan is the most over star in WWE right now.
He's not.
He is.
Okay.
In the fans' mind.
Okay.
In the fans' mind.
That doesn't mean anything.
In the fans' mind.
Let's look at the merchandise sales.
They don't know the merchandise sales.
I will find out.
And by the way, your little comments about you never see Daniel Bryan shirts, I saw thousands of Daniel Bryan shirts on fans on Sunday in Pittsburgh at the Console Energy Center.
Okay. I'm willing to see who sold the most merch Sunday night.
But you know why that matters. And that's why I said in the fans' minds.
But that's what's most
Daniel
important.
Bryan.
Here's why that matters. Because if they don't sell merchandise, okay, then the company's profit goes down.
So Daniel Bryan has a T-shirt.
Yes. He does.
John Cena's got wristbands, thongs, underwear, T-shirts.
Thongs.
He's got hats. He's got a whole line of merchandise.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Because it sells. No one's asked for a Daniel Bryan hat. No one's asked for a Daniel Bryan wristband.
You didn't see the fans there with fake beards on? There were several of them on Sunday.
Yeah, they were selling those there. The fake beards. And you know what? You're just an apologist.
No, I'm not an apologist. I'm simply saying...
Before this gets out of control, I like Daniel Bryan. I think he's very talented. But there's a reason why he's not being put in the top match.
The reason
why... It's money.
No, yes.
Yes.
But the reason why he's not being put in the top match is because he was and will be again in the top match.
He'll get there again, but he is the Ricky Steamboat of this generation.
Meaning?
It means he's stuck behind Hogan and Savage. He's the best guy he's the best wrestler in the company. The fans love him. Women and guys love him. But Hogan and Savage are right there. And that glass ceiling isn't going to break yet because Hogan hasn't left and neither has Savage.
I speak not of Daniel Bryan's wrestling ability. That's a moot point.
You could even say the same thing about Triple H.
How so?
Triple H was actually a better wrestler than The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
But Triple H was stuck behind The Rock and Steve Austin. And it wasn't until those two guys left that Triple H got to the top.
But in the fans' minds, aside from that big return to Madison Square Garden in 2001, in the fans' minds, not in the office or in the retail office, but in the fans' minds, Triple H was not as popular as Daniel Bryan is right now.
Oh, of course. I agree with that, 110%.
And that's the challenge. And that's why there's a petition that people are sending to the White House online, on which 100,000 people have signed, about getting Daniel Bryan a main event matchup in WWE.
Yeah.
This is our society nowadays.
Yeah, and those are the same people that think Obamacare and the Affordable Health Care are two different things.
But here is why they think that, because they see the chant, they hear the chant. And fans, I think, much like we talked about Batista, they get confused and upset and frustrated as to why their guy, who became their guy only because he's everybody else's guy, is not in that top spot. And then they realize, I'm sick of Cena. I'm sick of Orton. I'm sick of Batista. I want Punk. I want Bryan. I want Cesaro. I want the Wyatts.
Or is it because more of the fans today look like Daniel Bryan instead of John Cena? And they can relate more with Daniel Bryan.
On a size and stature standpoint.
Everything. The look, size, stature, the whole thing.
Is he this era's Stone Cold anti-hero?
Daniel Bryan?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Company's keeping him back. Company's keeping him down. Company's not giving him the spot.
Here's the difference, though. Austin won. He won the big matches. He was the champ.
He was put in the big matches. Austin was in the Royal Rumble.
Daniel Bryan has had opportunities to be...
And he's been the WWE champion.
Yeah, and it didn't work. It'll get there.
He never lost, to be honest. He never really lost.
Who has the belt right now? He lost it.
Okay.
He lost it.
He never got pinned clean 1, 2, 3 in the center of the ring for that championship without shenanigans.
How many times did Mick Foley lose to The Rock that didn't have shenanigans in it?
I quit. I quit.
Exactly.
I quit.
Do you think Daniel Bryan's going to take his beard and go home someday? Think he's going to quit?
On that note, we are going to take a timeout, ladies and gentlemen, here on the extended version of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. We'll be right back with more discussion.
You're going to get a ton of negative comments down below here
from WWE, Daniel Bryan, and also more discussion on this past Monday's WWE Raw, as well as this week's DWHS.
Oh my
All
goodness.
that's still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time Saturday night.
Hey, it's Kevin Nash, and Great Lakes Wrestling on March 21st will be bringing along the Outsider World Tour at Shenanigans. You can find information at blizzardbrawl.com. March 21st, blizzardbrawl.com.
Welcome back, folks, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Extended Edition. Thank you to all of you who've joined us here at PWRshow.com and on YouTube after our going off the air on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. So much going on in professional wrestling this week. What's so funny? What's that smirk for? Your burial of Daniel Bryan a few moments ago?
No.
So much going on in the wrestling world this week. CM Punk walks out of WWE. Daniel Bryan is the darling of WWE.
Wait. Hold on a second.
The Royal Rumble winner is Batista, and MVP is the investor in TNA.
If Punk is gone, I got to drop him.
From the draft?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up Batista.
It won't help you.
Why not?
Well, too bad neither of us got the Rumble winner. You can find the points by following PWR Draft on Twitter, at PWR Draft on Twitter.
Batista needs a match at the Chamber.
Let's go back to Raw this past Monday night. Finished talking about that as we promised the peeps we would. And going through the matches as they happen, the Bella Twins, Cameron and Naomi, and teamed up to take on AJ Lee, Tamina Snuka, Oksana, and Alicia Fox.
Foxy.
And the winners of that matchup, the Bellas, Cameron, and Naomi. We talked about the winners and the qualifiers of the Elimination Chamber matchup. Well, it would be the main event on Raw that would determine 3 of those participants. John Cena, Sheamus, and Daniel Bryan advanced by defeating The Shield in that matchup, and more Wyatt involvement.
You know, John Cena's not upset about his WrestleMania match, is he? Or potential
I'm not sure
WrestleMania
John
match.
Cena has a reason to be upset about anything.
Well, I mean, he could pout.
Why?
Well, he's not going to be in the main event.
Still the highest paid star in wrestling. Still the biggest star in professional wrestling.
I'm just saying.
As was Stone Cold Steve Austin when he walked out in 2002.
Yeah, but Austin, you know, he didn't want to put over Brock Lesnar, and I don't blame him. Why put over Brock on Raw? Get a bigger payday out of it. Do it on the pay-per-view, right?
Here's what was great and tremendous about Raw, I thought. The opening segment with Triple H, Stephanie, and Daniel Bryan, I thought was fantastic. I thought that Daniel Bryan said some things that got the fans more behind him and gave the impression that the Rumble exclusion was actually part of an elaborate story. You had a decent little match, I think Triple H said to.
He did have a decent little match.
And then Stephanie said, no, your match was excellent. She gave a little look to Triple H. It's these little things, folks. Again, we've said it many a times, David Hero. It's right in front of us.
You know, maybe now Daniel Bryan gets the match with Triple H at WrestleMania.
There you go.
Why not? All right, Punk.
And that makes sense, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
That makes a ton of sense because this goes back to summer. When he screwed him out of the matchup at SummerSlam.
Yep. And then that's when Triple H.
Daniel Bryan versus Okay, that's a match. Seriously, that's money.
And you got to figure Triple H will do what's best for business and lay down for Daniel Bryan.
That makes more sense than Punk versus Triple H. I know we were going somewhere with Punk versus Triple H. And by the way, that could still happen. Punk could be back next week. This could all be reconciled.
I hope not. You know what? If he does, he should be booed. Why? Because he turned his back on the fans that paid money to see him at Raw, and he wasn't there. That paid money to see him at SmackDown, and he wasn't there. They better boo him.
They won't.
They should. I would.
Did he sell out?
He's
in the fans' mind? You know, they love to chant, you sold out, you sold out, you sold out.
No, he didn't sell out. He left.
But the fans are going to like him more for leaving.
He made fun of The Rock because The Rock left wrestling, right? Well, Punk did the same thing. But, of course, you guys aren't going to see it that way.
More comments from Jim Ross and Stone Cold Steve Austin later on about, or just a few minutes about CM Punk. But another thing, and we talked about it earlier, Zeb Coulter's been great lately, hasn't he?
Oh, he's always great. He's fantastic. But
Are you making those signs for him?
No, I'm not making those signs. Really? That's hashtag hurtful.
What did he say? You, blah, 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 are not wanted, spelled
wanted.
W-U-A-N
yes.
apostrophe T. Great stuff, great stuff. But the Brock Lesnar beatdown of the Broads also very well. After the promo by Paul Heyman earlier in the night, and God bless it, is Paul Heyman just not absolutely fantastic when paired with Brock Lesnar?
He is, but let's face it. Paul Heyman has been around the business for a long time.
He's seasoned.
The business. He's seasoned. He gets it. He didn't go to school. He didn't go to different classes to learn how to cut a promo. He grabbed the microphone and looked in the mirror and learned himself. Mm-hmm. Then the Brooklyn Brawler counting him down, who was never a good promo guy.
Raw this past Monday night overall rather uneventful, except for the fact that we did find out 3 of the participants in the Elimination Chamber matchup. I thought we got a story told. We got a story told by Daniel Bryan, Triple H, and Stephanie. And I think the evolution of Brock Lesnar as a beast and monster was well done.
Is Triple H and Stephanie, are they the heels or the baby faces? Because they flip-flop. They're not a true heel because they switch around. Don't you agree?
I think that they are more heelish in their behaviors.
Only towards certain people.
Correct.
But not everybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
The follow-up, Roman Reigns, I believe he got the pinfall, and that didn't get the pinfall because they lost the match, but he was the man standing on top of the broadcast table that Raw ended with, and then on SmackDown, he was the man getting the pinfall victory in that matchup in the main event. Roman Reigns, David Hero, the horse is dead, but damn is he a star.
Here's my concern about breaking the Shield up. It's all cosmetic. Roman Reigns can lose the flak jacket. He's a jacked dude.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins loses the flak jacket.
He's no smaller than Christian.
But but Christian had the big fluffy white shirt when he first broke in. And eventually lost it. Okay?
The puffy shirt?
I'm just saying, Seth Rollins,
not wearing that.
He might need that flak jacket for his career, just to make him look bigger.
Mm-hmm. And Dean Ambrose.
Same thing. I think those guys.
You're back to looks again.
Wrestling's a cosmetic business.
Wrestling is a very cosmetic business. Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is. So maybe the Shield remains a tag team and Roman Reigns defects from those two.
They're going to have to because you can't.
You know, Dean Ambrose is the longest reigning champion in WWE right now.
He never defends the title. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? Punk was the longest of the current era also.
3-way matchup, WrestleMania. Is that how you do it?
I hope not. That would absolutely.
How does Roman Reigns step out of the Shield if he were to?
It happens at WrestleMania.
He shouldn't be a face. He's got to be a heel.
No, you know why he's babyface? Because women find him very attractive.
Linda told you that?
She's the first one that pointed it out. But let the Shield break up at WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania, not before.
Let's go back to the CM Punk story, ladies and gentlemen. As we talked about earlier, CM Punk defects, walks out from WWE this past Monday night just before Raw was to go on the air. That is a confirmed story. It did happen. He is gone. The question is only for how long. Now, what we didn't talk about, we did mention, maybe not enough though, was that his contract was scheduled to expire in July of this year. Last time, CM Punk, that big promo in 2011, the pipe bomb, he wasn't going to sign, his contract was expiring. Electric night at Money in the Bank in Chicago's Allstate Arena, Rosemont's Allstate Arena. Will never be replicated. Again, lightning in a bottle cannot be reshot or recaptured. But he ended up re-signing. He ended up going against his own principles and beliefs, if you will, and going against what he had said because nothing changed.
He got a paycheck.
And signed.
A big paycheck with new theme music and a bus.
Do you really think CM Punk is in wrestling for the money? Do you really think that's his primary drive?
God, I hope so. Why else would you do it? Because you love getting dumped on your head?
I don't know if I like what you just said about the business.
Anyone that says they're in it because they love to wrestle, they're full of crap. They want to be a star. They want to make money. They want to be a larger-than-life personality. What does Kevin Nash say? What did Kevin Nash say at the Q&A? He got tired of working the strip clubs and wanted to make money. Got into the wrestling business. Right? Mm-hmm. You think John Cena says, hey, I just want to wear obnoxious colored T-shirts for the next 15 years.
It's a whole different ballgame, David Hero. When you look at a CM Punk who grew up wanting to be a wrestler, whose dream in life was to be a wrestler, who went through the independent circuits,
whose dream was to go to the WWE
and headline WrestleMania. Absolutely,
that ain't
but not
gonna
for the
happen
money.
Because he quit. Okay, so he can blame himself for never headlining WrestleMania. He can headline now when he plays the video game at home. He can.
He had a match at the Some 16, 18 people have the joy of saying they have a match at WrestleMania.
Exactly. He got the Undertaker, the streak.
But he didn't beat him.
No one beats him at WrestleMania.
Here's what Jim
Khali
Ross
couldn't even beat him at WrestleMania.
Here's what our great friend Jim Ross had to say about the situation. Don't forget, I believe it's coming up March 1st in New York. Yes. Jim Ross has a big question and answer ringside at Night with Jim Ross. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com for that event. And then, of course, in New Orleans to kick off WrestleMania weekend, Thursday, April 3rd. Jim Ross there.
We should go to that.
We will be going to that.
No, to the one in New York. I like New York. You love New York.
I'll be at Mardi Gras.
You sing it. No.
Yes.
That never ends well for you.
Oh, it ends greatly for me every year. I'll be fine. Jim Ross said this of the situation. He said this in his blog at jrsbbq.com, jrsbbq.com. Punk, and I quote, has not been a happy camper within WWE for quite some time. Punk is not enjoying himself at work, as you talked about earlier, David Hero. And he continued saying, matters such as this generally concern one or both of the two C's, cash and or creative.
See?
Punk is mentally and physically burned out, and he's not having enough professional fulfillment to work through his issues. He needs a break.
He has issues? He needs a drink. You know, those straight edge guys, give him a drink once in a while, and everything I'm sure all works out.
You think that's all he needs?
It can't hurt.
Stone Cold Steve Austin also had comments when asked on Thursday night's edition of the Arsenio Hall show. Do you watch that? Is Klondike back? Was it Klondike? Was that his name?
No, just finish, because I hope you show the picture that Arsenio put up for CM Punk. And you wonder who's a star.
On the Arsenio Hall show, Stone Cold Steve Austin said, Punk is a friend, but he is also, and I quote, a hard-headed young man. Austin continued and said that he was that Punk was backed into a corner, he was frustrated, and he went home. And Austin said he did the same thing in 2002, as we talked about, and said he walked away from a lot of money.
Yep.
And walked away, and it wasn't the right thing to do.
No. But
Punk doing the same thing. How else is Punk to have sent this message? How else is he to explain his displeasure with the happenings and goings-on of his employer?
But here's the difference between Austin and Punk. The guys in the office liked Steve Austin.
And you don't think that
they're not big fans of CM Punk.
Well, if they weren't, he wouldn't be working there.
They don't. No. He works there because he makes money for the company. But now that he's gone, they're probably relieved that the headache is gone. Mr. Grumpy Pants isn't coming around.
But David, there's always 1 or 15 of those grumpy pants guys in the locker room at any given time.
Punk is like having 15 grumpy pants guys.
Because he's outspoken, because he believes in himself, because he speaks up, because he's not just a sheep, because he doesn't just
you know what? But you can only push so far. You can only be the squeaky wheel for so long before finally, guess what? We'll just get a whole new wheel. And they have one in Daniel Bryan, in Cesaro, in Roman Reigns. Punk's replaceable. Everyone in that company, even John Cena, the cash cow, the golden goose, is absolutely replaceable because they can make another one just like him. You know it's true. Hogan left. Well, we'll talk about that in DWHS.
Well, we're going to do that as soon as we come back from this timeout. So on the other side, David Hero's got his spoken word for this week in DWHS. We'll be back in just a moment here on this extended edition of PWR Primetime.
Hi, gang. Mean Gene Okerlund here on My 24, and you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report. All of the news about wrestling, not only here in Milwaukee, but throughout the world. Stay up to date. Join us every Saturday night.
CM Punk walks out on the WWE. CM Punk quits the WWE, and the IWC goes absolutely crazy. The WWE is a machine that employs over 300 people. I'm sure Punk is not the first or the only one that is frustrated. CM Punk has made millions of dollars and has become a celebrity. He's been immortalized in action figures, DVDs, and even Slurpee cups. And let's not forget, CM Punk has faced icons such as The Undertaker, The Rock, and DX. He has stolen the show. Let's not forget, CM Punk was never supposed to be a WWE star. So he took his ball and went home. So did Steve Austin. So did Brock Lesnar. So did The Rock and Hulk Hogan. Punk will be missed for a few weeks, and then business will be back to normal. The only tragedy here is that we never got the ice cream bars back. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Well, that's this week's DWHS. And you know what, David? I'll say this.
Yes, say it. Say it.
Yes, he walked out. There's no way around that. People quit their jobs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, other people did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the point you were making was when Hogan did it, somebody else stepped up.
Warrior stepped up.
When The Rock did it, Brock Lesnar was there.
Yep.
When HBK did it in 97, I think it was 97 when he lost his smile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who was there. Maybe it was 96, don't know. But there is always that next guy. There is always somebody else.
Always somebody else.
But you talk about, you almost, the tone I got was that CM Punk should be grateful for what he has gotten in this business.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to say something that's going to be a little controversial. If it was,
You're going to say something that's going to
if
be
it wasn't for Chris Benoit killing his family and himself, Punk may not have been in this spot because they needed guys that were clean and sober and that they could, work with and be out of the steroid era. And Punk fit that bill. If that doesn't happen with Chris Benoit, maybe CM Punk doesn't get the opportunities he gets.
Let me mop this up because you're making a valid point, but let me clean it up.
It's a huge valid point.
Let me clean it up. What you're saying is steroid scandal, the drugs, the brain damage.
No. Chris Benoit.
Yes, the brain damage, all of that stuff that led into the horrible publicity that WWE got from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
They then deliberately went out seeking smaller talents so that assumption would not be there. And they then elevated smaller talents so that assumption and that, I guess just an assumption, would not be there. So it's not just about Punk. It's about guys who in the past may not have gotten.
But he is the poster child of the undersized guy.
Yes.
And you know what? Let's face it. Remember when Punk won and Daniel Bryan won? And they took that big group picture of all the undersized guys?
Yeah.
How long did that picture last? 2 weeks?
Maybe 2 months.
Maybe. Pro wrestling is a big man sport. I'm sorry that...
WCW?
It is.
Where the big boys play?
It is, and I'm sorry if it's offensive and it bothers you, but the fact is this, the biggest stars, the biggest draws were larger-than-life characters. Austin, Hogan, Rock, even Shawn Michaels. But Shawn Michaels worked with great big guys like Kevin Nash and Vader and Sid. That was the David and Goliath and Undertaker. You have to have a good blend. And CM Punk didn't. Great promo guy, great wrestler, but just missed something.
You say size, and you don't really mean size because you just said presence. You love Magnus over in TNA. He's their champion.
Exactly.
You endorse that.
Yes.
He's not a huge guy. Actually, he is, by the way.
6'5".
But he does not come off as big as he actually is on television.
I'm just saying be over 6'2". Hey,
but here's why you keep getting heat for this, because it's not about their size, it's about their presence.
Their presence.
And there's a difference between the two.
When the female ring announcer, backstage interviewer, is taller than you, it kills the illusion.
Illusion.
Yeah, they used to put Andre the Giant on blocks, so he would tower over everybody to make him a giant. You know, it doesn't matter. You know what? You know why it doesn't matter? Because in my black heart for smaller wrestlers, I know that I'm right. And you know I'm right, because we've had these conversations with people in the business.
I'm just simply trying to protect you from the fireball and storm that there will be, because you're not saying what you are saying. I'm trying to make it more understandable what you are saying.
Are you trying to dumb it down?
I am trying to make it more relevant to those who do not have the privilege of knowing the things that we know.
The fact is, they've tried with undersized guys.
Mm-hmm. And the business results were not there.
No, they're not.
Unfortunately.
And Punk and Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins and Ambrose and Sin Cara, talented individuals. Cody Rhodes, talented individuals. Okay? But the fact is, they bring back Goldust. They bring back Batista. They bring back Brock and Rock. Why? Because at the end of the day, the casual wrestling fan that clicks through the channel wants to see monsters. They want to see characters. And they don't see that in certain individuals. Is that cleaning it up better for you?
It's going to have to be good enough. We did not, unfortunately, get to those other matchups in the Royal Rumble. We'll be talking about those on the Double D podcast coming up Monday, available on iTunes. And you can get it on your own little mobile device there and take it with you on the go. You can listen to David in bed. You can listen to me in the gym. You can listen to Linda.
I'm in bed?
Well, that's possibly.
Oh, I thought I was doing the podcast from bed. No, absolutely.
That
and you know what?
Things a bit uncomfortable.
Our main mandible, RC, watches us in bed.
Is that right?
Yeah. RC from Pittsburgh.
Wrap
it up. I'm done.
I think we may have gone over.
I'm exhausted.
By the way. You should be, because you've exhausted me mentally. Again, my arms even hurt from the mop. But thank you for joining us, folks, here on this extended edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime Saturday night. We'll be back with you again next week, where I can't imagine it's going to be as big a news week, but you never know.
Oh, I hope it is. I hope somebody else walks out.
I will leave it. By the way, he's got a contract, so I don't understand how that works.
He's going to be in breach of that contract, and the last time somebody walked out, royalties do go away. Financial suicide.
Which shows much more how, I think, passionate he is about the business and not the money. But here's the question to answer.
That's an expensive bus to pay for.
Here's the question to answer. Will we see within the next...
He could live in the bus. Him and Cabana could live in the bus together.
Will we see within the next 3 to 6 months CM Punk back on WWE television?
I don't know. I hope not. You leave, don't come back.
This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you Monday on the podcast, and then again next week for PWR Television. So long, everyone.